Hi, my name is Kaylin.
And I'm Adam.
Welcome to What's Your Problem, where we discuss current issues in distance learning and education. Today we're talking about what is actually possible in the distance learning environment. You might be surprised how many different disciplines have been successfully offered as online courses. In this special episode of What's Your Problem, we are not necessarily offering solutions, but rather showcasing these instructors who have overcome perceived obstacles and developed online courses and disciplines that may surprise you.
Well, let's start by breaking down a little history of distance learning. Not long ago, the term distance learning reflected a process where videotapes and a test were sent out to students who would then watch them at home and mail back the test. Then the internet happened and students could connect with their coursework online, and the online discussion board was born, opening the idea of distance learning up to instructors who valued interaction. Many think this is where distance learning currently sits and believe certain courses are just not possible online. The incomparable Keanu Reeves may have been apt to agree until he went into the Matrix and discovered just how much potential there really is. Well, this episode of What's Your Problem aims to jump down that same rabbit hole and demonstrate the latest advances in distance learning with the help of some of Schoolcraft's own. Adam?
One of the least represented areas in distance learning is vocational education. The hands-on nature of programs focused on nursing, massage, welding, and similar fields doesn't seem like it would work for students in an online environment. However, I sat down with Mike Harper and Liam Carroll from Schoolcraft's Fire Technology program to talk about how they've leveraged distance learning to offer their students an advantage over the traditional classroom experience.
Okay, so Liam, could you talk about what types of courses the Fire Technology program is putting online?
Sure. One of the things that we're looking at is, besides taking the classes that we currently offer in the brick and mortar institution and adding those to the online environment, we're also looking at putting on an additional series, essentially a whole new degree program that would run parallel to our current degree that's based out of FEMA, and the program is called FESHE, which is the Fire and Emergency Services Higher Education. It's an acronym, and that's geared on a national level for those people who are in those industries and want to promote or better educate themselves for career movements. So it would be a series of about 12 to 14 new classes that we currently don't offer here that would make an entirely new degree program on a national basis.
Excellent. And Mike, can you talk about some of the benefits that your students get from having these courses online as opposed to in a traditional classroom?
Yes, in a traditional classroom, the firefighter would have to go ahead and get some time off to be able to go to the class. Sometimes that makes it be harder for them to be able to accomplish because of the simple reason of manpower, as far as the next portion being at that point where they may be long distance. As the online class out there, we have a number of people that are from other states that are actually in the class and actually former students from here that are finishing their degree. So they're able to take and do the class at the time they need to do it, and also be able to do it on their pace as long as they get everything done by the appropriate time when we have to have the class assignments and stuff done.
Wow, those guys are on fire. On another note, many instructors are uneasy about world language courses online. How can they actually measure a student's mastery of the language if they can't hear them speak it? How can we correct a student who may be mispronouncing an accent? Will students be able to get the same experience learning a world language as they would in a face-to-face classroom? To answer these questions, I sat down with Anita Seuss-Koshik from Schoolcraft's Foreign Language Department to hear how she overcame these worries and used the Blackboard Collaborate video conferencing tool and outside resources to develop an engaging and effective online language course. What do you imagine are some of the traditional barriers that prevent more foreign language classes from being offered online?
I think first and foremost it's the asynchronous nature of an online course. People think learning a foreign language is about communication, conversation, so where is the partner in a distance learning course? And but I think we have bridged this with our courses very successfully.
How have you managed to overcome those barriers?
Well, I think first we had to really pay attention to finding a textbook that is online friendly. Then we built a ton of exercises for pronunciation, for encouraging the students to speak and actively use the target language. We also used the Collaborate tool, and so then the course is synchronous because I'm able to speak with the students through this platform, they can actually join me in my office hours and ask questions directly, and I can give them feedback, just like in a face-to-face classroom. We force them also to use the open resource of the internet. We tell them to listen to radio in the target language and then comment back in our discussion threads. They have to watch French or German TV, films. They have to read German and French blogs in my particular courses. So, are the students successful in a distance learning foreign language course? I have just given midterm oral exams, and I was really surprised by one student. She's only 14 years old. She's dual enrolled high school and college, and she has never had any French before, and she just aced this exam incredibly. And the only tools she has had was this course and the online resources that we, force them to exploit and use. And so she was very successful. Is every student successful? No, it takes a ton of discipline and it takes a ton of motivation, as in every other distance learning course. A foreign language face-to-face course is very interactive. So our students are really forced, or my students are forced to speak every single day. There is just no hiding in a classroom. And so an advantage to a distance learning online course could be for a shyer student, still have the potential to be really successful, but not having to really face this teacher that is in your face every day.
Merci beaucoup, Anita. Sometimes courses aren't developed online because they require resources that traditionally could only exist on a college's physical campus. Resources that were too big, too expensive, or carried too much liability for students to purchase and store on their own. But Schoolcraft's biology and chemistry departments have found a way to eliminate this barrier as well, bringing the traditional college laboratory experience to distance learning students. In our final segment, biology professor Nick Butkovich explains how they did it.
Okay, Nick, so how is it possible to replicate the experience of a traditional wet lab without requiring students to come to campus?
So it does take a little bit of re-envisioning the traditional lab experience. One of the things that we have done is, of course, we have students purchase a kit of lab materials, and of course they also have to buy some additional household items, things like an egg, paper towels, distilled water, nothing too crazy, and they can actually perform the experiments at home.
Great. And what have you learned through this process? Like, what have been the advantages and disadvantages so far?
Well, for us, there is no prep. It takes away our lab space issues. Also, it makes available to us a larger target audience of students. Pros for the students have obviously been they do their own experiments. They perform the experiments in a familiar, convenient environment. They work at their own pace. They have the ability to hear the instructions more than once.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So, as a quick recap, the potential for courses that can be successfully offered online is virtually limitless. As the faculty we spoke to have clearly demonstrated, just about anything is possible in distance learning if we think outside the box and leverage the tools within Blackboard to offer quality educational experiences to our students. We'd like to offer a special thank you to Mike, Liam, Anita, and Nick for sharing their perspectives with us in this episode. They are just a few of the faculty who are doing great things for Schoolcraft students.
What's Your Problem wants to hear from you. If you have an idea you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, or if you just want to drop us a line, send us an email or follow us on Twitter.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
What's your problem? What's your problem? I don't get what your problem is.
Welcome to Schoolcraft. Welcome to college.